I would like for it to be known that on many Fridays when we do this show, I wear a fun shirt. Today, I wore a disgusting, beat-up, old red polo because this, good friends, is my lucky shirt. Not fun. It's old, it's nasty, but it's lucky. I wore this shirt when I took final exams in college. I go.
Wait. Didn't you say you don't believe in luck?
I don't believe in jinxes, but luck is.
This is like a reverse jinx, dude.
No, everybody needs to know. I was fine with it. It's a confidence thing. Luck is half confidence. And so now I've got my shirt, so I feel confident going into that last day. What's happening, everybody? It's Fantasy NBA Today's final game day live coverage. I'm Dan Vespers. He's Aaron Brewski, a special little toss-you-in Wednesday show because today's the last day of the regular season. I always feel like I need to buffer that with, don't worry, the podcast is going to continue through the offseason, but obviously the content will be a little bit different. So, Brew, down the wire we go.
Yeah, I'm not all right over here. It's like a nightly thing. Stat tracker. I like the last thing I do at night is look at the stat tracker. I have a bowl of ice cream and then I look at the stat tracker, and it's like Christmas every single day. But no more. Oh no, no more.
Yeah, I that used without the ice cream. The stat tracker every night with dinner or snacks or NBA League Pass on the television, that was also part of my routine. And now it's like, how many times can I sneak over to take a glance at my laptop in between a child spitting up on me and, trying to fix dinner while the kid is rolling around and whatever else is going on. But, outside of the lactose, I know exactly what you're talking about. And this is both potentially a wonderful day and a sad day because I don't know about you, Brew. I do still have one Roto League that's going to this very last moment. And I've talked on this podcast a number of times that I consider myself to be in what I'd call a medium money league, somewhere between small and medium. But I'll put some actual numbers out there right now. I am currently tied for second place. First place wins half of the pot. That's a 50%er. I believe it's a $200 league, and it's only 10 teams. So first place is $1,000. Second place drops pretty precipitously. And I got to find a way to get that grand. I got diapers to buy, Brew. I got diapers to buy.
You're jacked. I can feel it. Dan Vespers is jacked.
I'm ready to roll.
I'm jacked. I'm pulling off some serious last to first runs right now. This is gonna be. I don't like my chances to win across the board, and we had this conversation off air. I think, I am probably way too hard on myself as far as finishes go, and but no, I'm gonna go last to first in a couple leagues here, and that's, to me, might be my favorite year of all time because you can just throw in the towel real quick if you look in your last in a Roto league and it's like you're a third of the way through the season. That's you can start to play. You go, oh, okay, well, you have 2/3 left. So theoretically you could be really good in those 2/3, but then you start to do the math and you're like, man, my odds are not great. And sticking with it and some massive waiver wire pickups along the way. The Yusuf Nurkic's, the Rashawn Holmes's of the world, and then sticking with guys that, you had high hopes for, and then they actually turn it around. All of that stuff has been great.
We lost Drew at, I think he's about wrapping up that sentence. I'm sure he'll be back momentarily. I'm going to follow up on that and say that in terms of guys that were sort of pickups that helped push us from near the bottom to near the top, which I think has happened for a lot of us that are big at hoop ball or follow hoop ball avidly, because a lot of those, I'm going to call them reaches, but kind of rolls of the dice early on in this NBA season were guys that were slow starters or coming off of injury. There were guys like Rob Covington, who kind of got off to a brutally slow start before he got it going. Drew Holiday was a guy who missed a bunch of time because of his wife's brain surgery, and it took him basically until January to kind of get things sorted out. And then also, one of the things that it looks like might actually propel me to a win, or, I'm running the numbers. I think my most likely outcome is a tie for first place. So, that's doable. We'll split that 1 and 2 cash in this league. Is the pickup of Kevin Love. He was a guy that was sort of maligned. People didn't think that he would make it back quickly, and there were concerns about him playing in back-to-backs. And he's basically played in all of the Cavaliers games since he made his return. I believe he skipped one pretty early on. It was like the first back-to-back for Cleveland after he got back into the lineup. And then since then, I'm looking back through the numbers here, I think he's played something like 11 or 12 games in a row. And I'll tell you, he hasn't been perfect. The shooting percentage has been down. He hasn't hit nearly as many three-pointers as maybe you would have liked. But, a 90% Kevin Love, who's played in pretty much every single ball game, is way better than almost anybody else out there. So, Brew, that was a guy that you and I had talked about, and I think we took a little flack for it on Twitter because his playing time was really kind of a question mark. And we said, you know what, stash him, roll the dice. This is a guy that even if he misses one game a week is going to be huge. And he hasn't missed one game a week. He's played. So that, to me, of all the pickups, that Richaun Holmes, like you said, is a guy that's been on my team for a long stretch here now. Guys that have been sort of on and off the roster in shorter bursts. The guy that might be the one to propel me to the top is a Kevin Love grab when everybody thought he was going to be out to the end, and squeezing 10 to 12 games out of him could be all the difference. When guys like, for me, Jonas Valanciunas kind of fell on hard times and Tyson Chandler stopped playing, I desperately needed somebody that I could count on to get 10 or 11 rebounds. Kevin Love was that guy. So there's one other sort of stopgap. And then I picked up Kyle Lowry, by the way, too. So that that one's not going to be quite as impactful because he's only going to play in 3 or 4 games here. But what the hey? It's a Roto league. I stashed him, and it's paying off.
Yeah, well, you might get DeMar DeRozan without or Kyle Lowry tonight without DeMar DeRozan. We don't know just yet. I have no idea how much you actually heard of what I had previously said.
We got through most of it. You had talked about sort of making these last to first jumps, and you were talking about the pickups that had propelled you there and not giving up. And it sounded actually like you were really close to the end, and then all of a sudden you vanished.
You had a seamless transition. I almost felt like maybe you guys didn't know that I got kicked out.
It's the lucky shirt, man. I got confidence today.
Man, I need one of those. All these pickups have obviously had varying success, but Kevin Love being the one that's really surprised me. I mean, there was a report he was going to be out, and then he played in the last one, and so we don't know their situation just yet. Because Tristan Thompson, if he returns, I think that gives the Cavs sort of a reason to then sit Kevin Love tonight. But if Tristan Thompson doesn't play, then I think Kevin Love goes, and then the whole number 1 seed there is something that's the Cavs. If they win and Boston loses, then the Cavs get the 1 seed.
Well, let's not jump too far ahead of ourselves. Let me tell people what we're going to be doing on this. I call it live coverage because live and we're covering things, but it's not going to be that different from a typical show. First and foremost, follow everybody on Twitter at Dan Vespers, at Aaron Brewski, at Hoopball Tweets. That's actually the big one today because the injury news is going to be coming fast and furious, and you're going to want to be following the Twitter account that's keeping you abreast of it.
Point of order, also go to our Hoopball Tweets account on the actual Twitter page and click on lists. There's a list of all of our contributors. And if you want to get a feel for kind of how we work here and what we've done, check out the last 15 minutes of my Brewski box score breakdown, where I actually go through and talk about the contributions that each of our contributors has made throughout this season and throughout our time as a website. And you can kind of get a good sense of what everybody's been doing there. And it's kind of my thank you to everybody for everything that they've done. But definitely go give them all a follow because they're all really good basketball minds. They can help you out. And they would appreciate it.
Listen to the Brewski box score breakdown, which I guess is the last one. There's no point in doing one.
Yeah, so I do cover a lot of this stuff. So if there's tidbits that me and Dan don't get to, it's all still relevant. So, and a lot of the stuff that I said, kind of predicting has actually hit. So I'm feeling good about my silly season predictions, which is like really just inside baseball type thinking, where you just kind of got a gut feeling somebody's going to do X, Y, or Z. When it happens, you feel good, and I guess then you get ahead of the game in terms of waiver wire pickups.
Oh, I've been so locked in on my silly season stuff. I feel amazing about this year, right down to almost predicting individual stat lines.
That was good, Dan. I'm a tip of the backward cap to you. That was some good stuff. I love a good stat line prediction.
I believe I said, by the way, Alexia Jintz is good for 14-7 tonight if you want to run him out there. And he went for 14-8. And he grabbed that last rebound with like 40 seconds left in the game. I started him, so I had this moment where I was like, oh, good, an extra rebound. And then I went, oh. I had it. I was so close. But yeah, I mean, the silly season stuff, you and I both, we talked about it last Friday in kind of preparing for this week, who's going to miss games and when. And the only one that I don't really know about right now, I said Steph Curry would miss one. I had a number of other guys that was like, okay, here's when they get eliminated. Here's when you see them take a day off, and they'll probably play in this one and not in the other one. And here's the guy that's going to step up in their stead. And then even on yesterday's podcast, I said, you guys should really consider rolling the dice and picking up Shabazz Napier, because even though Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum say they want to play on Wednesday, those guys are gassed. Portland had to go hard from the All-Star break on, and then we found out that those guys are out. But we'll get to that. We're going to talk about all 28 NBA teams playing today, some of them more than others, based on basically who's in and who's out. That's going to be the big topic for today's show, because those of you that still can make moves, that's important to you. And there may be a fill-in guy today that could win you a league. And I tweeted about that yesterday too. So that's the big piece of today's puzzle. While you have time, go listen to Brewski's Box Score Breakdown, and you can get the last episode of that until October. Man, your pipes, they get a little break.
I know. Who knows? Maybe I'll roll out a random episode here or there. But yeah, it's like you kind of along what you're saying, and I know we're gonna just jump right in head first here. But like a couple days ago, it felt like after the Nuggets' heartbreaking loss, that they would turn the page on the Danilo Gallinari era and play guys like Malik Beasley and Juancho Hernan-Gomez. No intel to support that. It was just a gut feeling. And so they sit Gallo, and they basically played Wilson Chandler just 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And so both of those young guys had great games in the second to last game for the Nuggets. And I expect them to have great games again tonight. So, these are the small moves that if you can make changes to your lineup, you got a daily format that can be the difference maker. There's big stat lines. There are going to be some huge, stupid stat lines tonight.
Can we do, okay, before we even get the team by team breakdown, we're going to do a little game here. Who do you think the biggest completely useless fantasy player performance is tonight? Like, what guy that is owned in 1% of leagues is going to have your most impactful performance tonight? Can I give you mine?
Yeah, give me yours, because I'm going to quickly figure out mine.
Okay, this is a guy that actually screwed me 3 years ago, I think. He was a member of the Brooklyn Nets then. Maybe it was 4 years ago. And I needed something like 4 3-pointers over the last 2 days of a head-to-head fantasy playoff matchup. And I had one move left. And I was locked in on this dude. And he had a back-to-back on the final Tuesday and Wednesday. And I thought, this is like gold. I can coast to first place. And he knocked down 3 3-pointers in the first half on Tuesday and hurt himself. Didn't play another minute. And that's Mirza Teletovic. I think tonight, he goes for 5 3-pointers tonight.
I said that in my box score breakdown. I said he's going to shoot 13 shots. 10 of them are going to be threes. And if he hits half of them, you're just going to be golden.
Yeah. He's my guy. He's my weirdo. You'd never use him in a million years on any other day of the year. And, I mean, the Bucks are like, there's nobody playing for them tonight. Deli's out. Snell's out. Giannis is out. and Middleton's out, right? So like pretty much anybody that plays minutes on that team is out.
I got a couple candidates here.
Okay, who's your big guy?
Oh man, picking between them is just real hard right now.
It's like choosing who's your least favorite child.
It's yeah, it is. But okay. I'm almost at the end of the entire league here, so I don't want to. The candidates are
okay. What you got?
Starting off with, I forgot who all my candidates are.
Oh my goodness, my mental drum roll was useless there.
No, it's Troy Daniels.
Okay,
is on this list.
Memphis, right? Yeah.
Yep, in Memphis. Troy Williams is kind of on the list. He's not on the list. And then the Denver guys are ruled out because we already talked about them.
No, they could. I mean, we're talking about guys on Denver like a Juancho Gomez.
Juancho is Juancho is the one on that list between the Denver guys. I'm looking at Jason Terry.
Oh, the Jet.
The Jet, he lives for these moments. This is his playoff game today.
The Geritol moment of the night.
Oh, hell yeah. I think 23 points out of Jet tonight. And, Czech Diallo is obviously going to be for people in the know, he's going to be somebody that's in a lot of DFS lineups and a lot of fantasy lineups. But if you're looking, we're looking for kind of like insane value potential. And Jordan Crawford fits that bill for me. There's more though. There's a couple more.
I'm going to ask you an important question that just came in from the chat room because I think it's hilarious. Do we have a name for the little ghost glare that always appears on Brewski's chin? There's a light somewhere in your room that's reflecting off of your camera. And so there's like a little green.
Oh, that green dot?
Yeah.
That's a sniper dot. Somebody's trying to kill me.
That looks like a light bulb.
It's cool, actually. No,
that's a great question.
It's my beauty spot.
We're having some fun here on the last day. All right, let's.
No. I want to get the name in here because I think I've decided on who I'm going to bet the house on.
Who is the candidate that leaps to the forefront? Who are you taking on today?
It's not Pat McConnaughton, known as Pat Connaughton by actual name. I just can't say his name without adding a McDonald's prefix. McConnaughton. It's Connaughton. Pat Connaughton. But
he's out.
Jake, is he out?
Oh, no. I thought you said that he's not the guy.
No, he's not the guy.
Okay.
He's not the guy. The guy is Jake Layman.
Jake Layman.
Layman somehow got 15 shots off or 13 shots off last game and only made 2.
He's due.
He's due. And I think that team is, we got Shabazz. Shabazz is the best play, obviously. But if we're going for random 1% owned, who's going to pop off and you're going to go, what? It's going to be Jake Layman.
Okay, let's talk about some teams. Let's go through these things and talk about who's in and who's out. Toronto-Cleveland is the first one on the docket. Toronto, it sounds like the latest is DeMar questionable. Do we know if he's in or out at this point?
Yeah, he's questionable, and if I had to guess, they're not going to push him to play. There was talk. Casey said that he wanted these guys to play. They were going to approach it like a regular season game. I just, if I'm the Cavs and I'm resting LeBron and approaching the game that way, I don't know that Toronto is going to gain a lot of value out of pushing guys to play. There is a timing issue with Kyle Lowry coming back into the lineup. I just think that that's a little bit overthought. These guys have played together forever. I don't know that they need any additional timing, training on that end. So DeMar is a little bit iffy in that one.
Cleveland's side. What do we know about that side? Who's in, who's out? You were talking about Tristan Thompson versus Kevin Love. It seems like Love keeps wanting to play. Like maybe he doesn't feel like himself yet. Is that why he's continually throwing him into the lineup?
It's very possible, and just to kind of get a feel for where his knee is at. Now Thompson is now probable. This just kind of recently hit the wire, so he is. That that makes me worry about Love's status a little bit, but they don't have a lot of bigs there. And, Toronto does have Jonas Valanciunas as well as, Serge Ibaka. So I kind of think that there might be a need to play Kevin Love. But again, they're going to err on the side of caution. It just gets when you lose one of the cogs, unless they're going to completely throw this game, like you do need to have scoring on the floor if you're Cleveland. And I can't imagine they wouldn't take the win if they could get it.
So let me ask you this: the approach that I think would be sort of most organized for us in looking at these games is if we have confirmation that somebody is in or out, then that obviously makes it easy. If we don't, is there anybody on Toronto or Cleveland that's worth grabbing as a just-in-case guy?
Yeah.
Like in terms of, if you compared them like a Shabazz Napier, who seems like an easy move, or he's going to be good to go for half of their offense with those other guys out. But like on Toronto, if DeRozan is out, doesn't a lot of his production go to the other bigger name guys? Is there someone that slots in that's worth using sort of compared to other pickups? Like where would you put them on the chart of how worthwhile are these replacement guys? Because when I look at these two teams and I say, okay, well, who steps up if Love sits but Thompson plays? Is it still Channing Frye? Is it nobody? Toronto, is it Corey Joseph? Does he see more time? But for me, I don't know that I'm actually all that interested in either of those guys. I feel like I'm finding more interesting guys elsewhere. But you and I could obviously disagree on that because there's some really weird names out here today.
I think there's some good pickups here. I think Channing Frye has a nice floor. Like I think he gets, unless he's ruled out for rest on his own, but we don't have any indication of that. All we know is that he's old. He has a nice floor. I think he plays 20 minutes and he can get hot in 20 minutes just as easy as he can get hot in 32. So I like that. For last day pop, you're obviously targeting points, boards, threes, and blocks with him. And so if those categories don't work for you, then you're just not even looking at it. But if you are in need of those categories, finding somebody that checks those 4 boxes is both rare. And the fact of the matter is he could score you, 24 points, hit 5 threes, and get you some good boards and blocks. That to me is a good pickup in advance of not having the information. As far as the Toronto side, I think that Corey Joseph profiles as somebody that could have a big game. We saw this with, Kyle Lowry out. He would oscillate between bad and good lines, and then he picked up a little bit of steam towards the end. On the flip side, Norman Powell has lost steam. Sometimes a coach will take this game and give this, make this an opportunity for that player to get back on track. But I do think that Corey Joseph is the preferred play there. And if you see this game start to tilt and, the Toronto's winning by a lot, or say Boston is winning in their game and then Cleveland pulls back and they don't care anymore, you could start to see Toronto also do the same thing and then give Corey Joseph the majority of the touches. And that would then propel him to a potential big game. So I like that if we're speculating on, low end pickups as far as good floor, but also good upside.
We just got confirmation, by the way, as we've been on air, that both Boogie and AD will miss the final game of the NBA regular season. So New Orleans crystallizes a little bit. They are one of the late games, so we'll get to that momentarily, but that's obviously means that what we've seen from the Pelicans over the last couple of games seems like it's kind of on track to be similar. But again, we're not going to jump ahead on that one. No obvious changes on that front. Minnesota and Houston is the next one. Minnesota, they just keep trotting out their regulars here. Houston has been kind of rotating in and out which guys are playing. Do we know anything on the Minnesota side? Do we know anything for sure on the Houston side either?
That green dot is weird.
Oh, now if I give you antihistamines and point you to that thing, we've lost you forever.
Don't turn me to the dark side, man. Minnesota has got Tibbs fever. He's a throwback. He does not want to play his kids at all, and I don't think he changes for one game. I mean, it's possible that if a coach that doesn't want to play the kids, looks at how do you develop them in season, so it might relent for one game. Look at it like, okay, kind of like in football where the backup quarterback gets a game. At the end of the year, at least that's the way it used to be. Now I think that they play their starters big minutes. They haven't gotten the traction that they've wanted. They just lost their last game. I think that it's 35 minutes for all those guys.
What about Houston? It seems like somebody different is taking a game off every time. Is this the one where D'Antoni just throws them all out there and says, get yourselves ready for the playoffs?
They're all more or less healthy for this game. And so I think that this is a lot of feel. Harden played 24 minutes in the last one, and I think he's going to play 24 minutes in this one. And so, DFS owners will probably want to fade him. I think they think that MVP voters have made up their mind. And so there's no point to going out there and having some big 50-10-10 game or anything like that. So I think now they're going to just get his wrist into good shape. If they called him a last-second scratch, it wouldn't shock me. But I think there's a lot of risk with this team. I think they really are going to go for everybody plays 20 minutes. And, so if you're looking at starters like Trevor Ariza, who would be a rest risk. You're looking at guys like, Patrick Beverly, guys that are kind of ruled in by the last injury report. I don't like any of them at all.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was sitting with that one. Brooklyn, Chicago, the Bulls actually need this game. We're hearing that Brooklyn will actually rest a few bodies, whatever the heck that means, since they've been playing everybody 25 minutes every game all season long anyway. Brook Lopez, at long last, is he finally going to skip one?
Yeah, he's out already, and so he's gone. J-Ham gets a chance. I don't know that Hamilton's a great pickup here. They've really moved away from him, and I think that this is going to be a fast game. There's going to be a lot of possessions, a lot of small lineups. I'm not even that I don't know that this puts them at a disadvantage even that much. I think that they're going to play hard. And, Chicago's the opponent in that one, right? Yeah. Chicago is in the playoff chase, and a lot of talk about, hey, Brooklyn's kind of screwing over the Heat and, the Pacers by not fielding their best team. I would not be shocked if the Nets won this game at all. And so the guys I'm looking at there are Spencer Dinwiddie. He had one bad game out of the last month in his last one. He's typically good for 2 steals and a block. And then I think between him and Isaiah Whitehead, they could both have very productive games. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, I like a lot. I think he's a must-start guy tonight. I think Karis LeVert will probably have a low-end line, something in the ballpark of 15 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, a steal, and a 3. But I think they're going to get a lot of possessions out of that group. Beyond that, I don't know who else would be startable in that situation. I don't know if it feels like that team's pretty stable, actually.
Milwaukee, Boston is the next one. Milwaukee, we've touched upon just a tiny bit earlier on. They're resting a lot of bodies. Tony Snell, Matthew Dellavedova, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Chris Middleton are all out for the Bucks. I've already said that I think Mirza Teletovic could be bombs away in this one. Do we know anything about Boston? And is there anybody else on Milwaukee people should be looking at? Because he's kind of the specialist available on that team, but guys like Malcolm Brogdon have played well. And the whole roster is open now with those 4 guys resting. So there's all sorts of directions they could go.
Boston's going to play their normal stuff. They're going to play to win. Obviously they care about the ones. They need the 1 seed. So this is going to be all hands on deck for them. I wouldn't use them any differently than you've used them. There is some blowout potential in this game. So that could, if they're winning by 20 at the beginning of the 4th quarter, those guys probably play if anything, a minute or 2 before they call off the dogs. If this game could easily get out of hand by halftime as well. So there's that. As far as the Milwaukee side goes, I think Malcolm Brogdon's going to get big minutes in this one. If you're looking for a really random guy to get a lot of minutes, I don't know if he can actually produce with the minutes. Gary Payton II has shown good minutes in the past. in this type of a scenario, and really not even this type of a scenario because they're resting everybody in this one. Jet, we've talked about. I think Jet, for points and threes, if you are targeting those categories, this is almost like a must grab. I mean, we might see some news that says, hey, Jet's resting too because he's old. But if that's not the case, I think you put him in there. They're just going to have a hard time doing stuff. Thon Maker is kind of maybe the home run of the bunch if you want to go risk reward, because they would love for him to have a big game. How much he can do with this bad of a team is very much questionable. But Greg Monroe, I think this might be his game, as far as just being the number one guy and putting up a big line.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that's a nice little ad there. Detroit and Orlando, the Pistons have sort of gone to some of the younger guys. We saw Henry Ellenson go a little Chuck crazy for a couple of games, and then the leash got yanked back a little in that third one when he was starting. And then we saw Boban, who was just happily coasting along and grabbing rebounds above all of the children that he's playing with on the basketball court. I mean, that guy's the biggest human being I've ever seen. That's ridiculous.
I roomed in college with somebody that was 7 foot tall, 280, and a UFC fighter. And
gracious.
He would dwarf that guy, and it's really like. So I bet you go to events, you go to parties, you go to this, you go to that, and you walk in the room with somebody that size, and like the music stops, and it's like kind of like you watch people's jaws drop, and they all go to the other side of the room, and it's a interesting experience. And thinking of somebody that's even bigger than that is pretty mind blowing, and it's great to see that he has skill, and he next year will be sort of unleashed into a 20-minute role. And I think he's going to put up big numbers in that 20-minute role. He's got unstoppable shots. I mean, you just can't block him. And that's just phenomenal from a fantasy perspective. I think he's got to be in all lineups. I mean, the problem is he might not get you the steals and the blocks, but the points and the boards are going to be there. And I worry about his conditioning a little bit being kind of rolled out there so much lately without having a good ramp, so to speak. But he would be a preferable play. Ish Smith is going to get all he can eat. I'm not comfortable with anybody in the middle of that lineup. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Marcus Morris. Tobias has been good. I mean, if I'm going to take the gamble on one of those guys, it's going to be Tobias. Stanley Johnson could get 30 minutes and do nothing with them in this game. Maybe there's some upside there, but typically he doesn't produce. And then Ellenson, I mean, right when he gets into that starting lineup, which I don't personally care about all that much, he throws up a dud. So he's a risk-reward play, and we don't know how much reward is on the other end of that.
Denver OKC. This one makes you sort of stop and think for a minute. I mean, Westbrook sat out a game finally, which was, to me, actually almost a tiny bit unexpected. I thought he would just keep going and try to pile up and add to his record. Does he do that in this one? Do you think Russ plays to try to extend his lead?
Being a part of the pregame celebration with Oscar Robertson, it would be kind of a little bit hard for him not to play. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of tea leaf reading there, but I would think he plays. And how much he plays?
Not that interesting. Oklahoma City. Less interesting. Nope.
I didn't catch all that because my internet sucks.
That sounds a little bit less interesting then. So Denver is the more interesting side of this game in terms of last day stuff for you, yeah?
Oh, yeah. And on the Thunder side, there's not a lot of guys that can really step up and produce. I mean, we saw Victor Oladipo have a big game, but I think Enes Kanter is probably the one that you look at and you go, okay, there could be a big, big line out of him, But beyond that, Steven Adams, if he's good, he's getting you steals and blocks, not necessarily going off offensively. None of the other guys really stand out. I guess if we're looking for randoms, Semaj Kristen, I'm not pronouncing that right, but he might be somebody that we look at the end of this game and go, we should have thought of him. If Westy plays minimal minutes or doesn't play at all. On the Denver side, I think some of the bigger potential guys of tonight are Malik Beasley and Juancho Hernan-Gomez. Juancho has the experience. Denver wants to see those guys play. And you've got Jamal Murray with practically no help be less of a scorer and more of a distributor, and that's going to mean that those guys get their shots. And so I think all three of those guys are really prime plays tonight.
Atlanta, Indiana. Atlanta is throwing in the towel on this ball game. They locked up their spot in the playoffs, so that's why everybody in Miami is having some delightful sour grapes for dinner. Indiana, they
got to win
this game, so they're sort of a non-story. If you're trying, you're a non-story today. Sorry, Atlanta's not trying, so they become a story. So who's left for the Hawks, Brew? Because it feels like when basically an entire team sits down, that's where you can really go dig up somebody who's just going to go yakko for 35 minutes who'll never play again.
Yeah, I guess if we're going to quickly dig in Indy, I think that Kevin Seraphin might be worth a look with Al Jefferson out. But as far as Atlanta goes, this is as good as it gets in a tanking type. It's not tanking, it's something else. We got to stop using the word tanking, I think, as to like a catch-all describer of everything that's going on.
I like the Donati brothers call it taking a knee.
They're definitely taking a knee here. And so I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at Malcolm Delaney. Hasn't been able to provide a good fantasy stat set this year with or without the opportunity. I would look at Jose Calderon. I actually ranked these guys in last night's Brewski Box Score breakdown. Let me just spit that out. I got it going like this. I had Schroeder playing, but now he's no longer playing. So I'm going to go Prince as my first play, Ilyasova as my second. I'm going to go Chris Humphreys as my third. I'll go Jose Calderon as my fourth. I'll go...
That's probably enough. Nobody's going to pick up 5 Hawks.
You can't shut me down. DeAndre Bembry, 5th, and 6th, Mike Dunleavy.
If you get all the way to 6th on that list...
Oh, wait. And the rapping Mike Muscala. I forgot about Mike Muscala. He is actually slotted in there behind Ersan Ilyasova and in front of Chris Humphreys. So there, Dan.
All right, fair enough. Letting the big dog eat over there. Philly, New York. Same as the last one for these two teams, right?
Yeah. I mean, Nick Stauskas, I think, is on the radar as a pickup. Well, actually, I think he should be in most, if not all, lineups. And then the other half of that was New York. Ugh.
Yeah,
so right. Kristaps and Carmelo, I don't think are playing in this one. And so you're just kind of like Ron Baker's been good lately. I think he's worth a look. Justin Holiday's got potential, but he's got Sasha Vujacic there. Mindaugas Kuzminskis, because of the Sasha Vujacic thing, I'm not as optimistic as I was when, 2-3 weeks ago when Sasha wasn't doing stuff. Willie Hernan Gomez is a great pickup. And I thought Kyle O'Quinn, if there's ever a time and place to use a Kyle O'Quinn, it's the last game of the season when 14 teams are playing.
Yeah, it's so true.
I mean, come on now.
That is like, truer words were never spoken than that one. Kyle O'Quinn is primed for probably his best game in 6 months.
0 points, 1 rebound.
I know. 8 blocks. What are we on here? Washington, Miami. That's the next one on the docket. Miami's angry, but they're going to try to win because they have to. They have to assume that the other guys are going to win. And if somebody loses, then they can sneak their way in. Washington. Do we know anything going on with the Wizards? I actually can't remember what the last thing I heard with this team was. I know Wall sat out their last one. Yeah,
so Wall is out. I'm just double checking to make sure there's no recent news here. Sorry about this. I spent
so little time paying attention to the Wizards this season that to actually look at them now is like, well, I don't even know where to begin with this team.
Well, no, I mean, Markieff is out, Wall is out. Porter is actually going to play some minutes, so that's interesting because his hip/back injury has just sort of lingered, and something that I think teams next year might have to give a look to and see, is this a long-term issue with him? I know the locals in Sacramento might cringe to hear that, and that's just something that I'm going to file for later. Jan Mahimi's out. Marcin Gortat is going to play because Mahimi's out. Now Gortat's going to play limited minutes. I think the Wizards are geared up to lose this game. Starting somebody, I mean, Bradley Beal could theoretically hold value. Oh, sorry, Beal's out too. My bad. So what are we looking at here?
Brandon Jennings for the win.
Yeah, Jennings, I think, is a great start tonight. Satoransky is probably one of those guys we should have talked about in that 1%er category. I don't know that I would pull the trigger on it, though. Kelly Oubre hasn't really been able to do anything with his minutes above low-end value. Jason Smith is the dark horse for me. He's got 1-1 potential, and I could see him going for like 15 and 8 with that 1-1 or 2 threes and a steal and a block. This is really, really a tough game when you've got players like Porter and Gortat that could give 20 minutes each, and then you've got kind of a mishmash of players. Actually, you know who is? I'm sorry, Boyan. This game has Boyan written all over it, and I said that in the Brewski box score breakdown. Boyan has 30-point game potential. We've seen him go off in the past, and as a willing shooter, playing with a bunch of guys that aren't necessarily willing shooters or score first guys, I think he's going to have a big game tonight for points, boards, free throw percentage, threes. That's what you're looking for out of Boyan. I would actually be pretty bullish on that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one now that everybody else has been ruled out of that thing. Dallas-Memphis is the next one on the docket. We know Dallas is sending in the clowns. Is that appropriate for this one? I think they're resting everybody. This is another team that's got most of their old farts on the bench. Let me see if we can dig up who the latest rests are with that. We know Dirk is out. Wes Matthews, is he out as well?
No, we're waiting for the shoes to drop with Wes and JJ Barea, Harrison Barnes. I think those three guys, are potential rest guys. Dirk is obviously all the way out. Who did well last night was Dwight Powell. He had a decent line, and you knew he wasn't going to get a lot of run because it was a Dirk home game. And that's all if you started him in a weekly league, that was all you needed out of that game. I think this is the one where he goes big. Really, people are just trying to figure out who's going to get what. Like Yogi Ferrell, I think, is in as good a position as anybody to have the big game. He's just been trolling with low-end value, and that's fine. But being on the ball, I think he's going to have access to a lot of stats. Dorian Finney-Smith, I think, is your kind of safe low-end play for money counting stats. I know that's not the sexiest thing to say, but if you need steals, threes, and blocks, I think he could probably get you 3 of them total tonight. Jared Uthoff is somebody that we know not a lot about, and
Jared Hoothoff.
Yeah, and Nicholas Brasino. I mean,
oh, he was the guy in our that was our 30 deep trivia question. Remember that from a few weeks ago?
That's right. Yes.
He was the number 350 pre-rank on Yahoo or something. It was Nicholas Brasino. Dwight Powell's a guy actually that I was targeting a little bit. You brought him up, so I want to spend a quick second on him. As long as I was trying to sort of predict what some of these guys were capable of doing, you can look at Dwight Powell's last 3 or 4 games and get an idea of what his game has become now, where he's actually, even at his young age, he's already started to move away from the basket a little bit. So if you're looking for a hard-nosed rebounder, he's not really that guy. He's been hovering in that 5 to 7 rebound territory, but he's been knocking down anywhere from 2 to 4 3-pointers when he's playing minutes. So that's kind of an interesting, weird little, you can get some threes, a smattering of rebounds. Maybe if you don't feel comfortable with a guy like Teletovic, maybe you'd rather throw Dwight Powell in there or that guy. And Bogdanovic, all 3 of those guys kind of fall in a similar boat for me.
Well, Powell had a 3-week stretch where even in a limited minute role, he was providing late, even sometimes mid-round value. Now, that was not typical of his career, but it's at least giving you something to hang on to. Like, hey, this guy can do it. And, what better time than now? Especially the one thing I'm one watching this game is, does Nerlens Noel get 17 minutes? Because if he gets 17 minutes in this game, I think he's on a pitch count, and that informs me about the status of his knee, and that will be a really interesting subplot heading into the end of the year. Because why wouldn't you play the guy 25 minutes or 28 minutes if he's healthy? And if he's not healthy, what are we really talking about here for his future? So if he plays the 17 minutes, Dwight Powell is going to get a lot of run.
Yeah. The next one on the docket, as I was sort of rifling through yesterday's box scores. San Antonio and Utah. Utah sounds like they're getting a lot of their guys back for tonight. A lot of gentlemen listed as probable last we checked. San Antonio is a weird bird because Papa said he's playing all of his guys, but he didn't tell us how much.
Yeah. Pop's going to play them 15 minutes each in the starting of his starting lineup and studs. He's going to play them all 15 minutes. You can start Kawhi Leonard, I think, tonight. And, there's some part of me that says that Pop might troll the entire MVP universe and just let Kawhi go out there and just, massacre.
That would happen, wouldn't it?
Just because, this MVP discussion has been one of the weirdest and almost lamest that's out there, because it's just not good. I don't think this is that. To me, I respect everybody's opinions on this matter, but I don't think that it's not that hard. The MVP award is always about how you define it. So if you define it in a way that you pick Russell Westbrook to win, I'm cool with that. If you define it in a way that you pick James Harden to win, I'm cool with that. But when we talk about who has had the best, total minutes on the floor and impact for their team, and you look offense and defense, it's Kawhi. And I watch all of the ringers out there, the guys that put money on their decisions and who they pick, and it's Kawhi. And so I don't think it's that hard of a decision. Everybody's belaboring this, I had to think about it, I had to vote, and I'm going through this mental anguish. It's so tough. It's not. It's really simple. So I think Pop might even sense some of that and say, hey, Kawhi, go out there and hang 45 points on him. But in his 15 minutes that he's more likely to get, I think you could start Kawhi. I think Powell has enough pop to his game to where you could look at him. I would LaMarcus Aldridge is a fade guy for me. The big name versus the Bojan Bogdanovic or something like that. If you have to pick between the two, I think you probably fade Aldridge. Kyle Anderson's the guy that I think you can hope for some upside. He's flashed some of that upside, but really, come on now. I mean, it could be Burn Forbes. How the hell would you start Burn Forbes today?
You wouldn't. Utah, if their guys are coming back, does that not render someone like, say, Joe Johnson a little bit less interesting?
Yeah, and I'm bummed about that, because I thought Smoking Joe Ingles could be on that list of players that he goes, 30 points, and everybody's like, Smoking Joe, yeah. But
ISO Joe and Smoking Joe.
Yeah, exactly. We need a better nickname than I'm going to come up with, because but there's two Joes. And that's the important thing that you guys got to know. Their names are both Joe, and that's
actually coming to TBS this fall.
TBS, they're good now. I like their stuff. I like that Jason. Was it Jason Jones?
The Detour, I believe.
The Detour. Yeah, I like that show.
I have no problem with our two Joes. I think that's going to be a great program. I'll watch that right from the outset. Sacramento Clippers. Haven't heard anything. Sounds like they kind of want home court in that first round.
Well, I think the game starts at 5 p.m. Pacific time in Utah, and the Clippers start at 7:30.
Yeah.
So that gives them one heck of an advantage in terms of rest. And so I think if they see that the Jazz are winning and that they have to play, they're going to play. But if if the Jazz are not winning and it's halftime and they know this, then I think those guys might not start the second half. I'm really wary about the Clippers because of this reason. And the Kings are not, they don't care about this. They don't care about the loss. They want to win. They're going to go down there. They're going to play hard. And when you have a team that this is kind of their last go, it's a dangerous situation for the Clippers. Fantasy players, the Kings draft positioning, it's all very funny. I like all the Kings. Also, Willie Cauley-Stein only got 21 minutes. A lot of people might have missed this. Dave Yeager said in the postgame that was by design, so he could get big minutes in this one. So don't fade Willie Cauley-Stein. Scal, I think, is as big. He's a candidate to have a big line. Play the Kings as you would normally play the Kings.
Lakers dubs. Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala are out. This was kind of they're doing their rests in rotation, but we've seen this with the Warriors before. When a big guy is out, the other big guys just do a little bit more. Lakers have been winning for reasons unbeknownst to those who follow basketball. They just keep trying. I don't understand it. They just keep trying, and they keep trying harder. Outside of the main guys, I think D'Angelo Russell was ruled out for this ball game already. We've seen pretty good performances lately from Larry Nance. He's been kind of a nice end of season consistent play. Is Tyler Ennis a guy that could pick up for Russell, or is it just really going to be, more Clarkson, more Randall, more Nance, that kind of thing, and the Lakers piecemealing it together? I'd be surprising if they won this game, but they've done dumber things. So anybody worth picking up in that group? Because I feel like Nance is probably owned already.
Actually, the tanking thing doesn't even matter anymore. I expect the Lakers to come out gunning. All the slots are in place, or probably in place.
Yeah.
So true. From a tanking perspective, you've got the Magic and who was it? The Magic and sorry about this. The Philly are tied. So if you're thinking like what team might throw their game, so to speak, I look at Orlando. I don't look at Philly. Philly is on too much of a high for how they've played. But Orlando could sit
out there.
Orlando could sit some pretty random dudes and try to lose that game to gain that slot. The group of Minnesota, or probably New York, Minnesota, Dallas, and Sac and New Orleans are all within a game of each other, and Dallas and Sac are tied. It's just those, New York is tanking, Minnesota is not, Dallas probably is for this one game, Sac is not, and New Orleans definitely is. As far as the Lakers go, I think they come out to play. Russell's been ruled out within like the last 10 minutes or something. So Tyler Ennis has been good. He was not good in his last one, but I think he can be good again. I think Jordan Clarkson is going to be good. Meta World Peace already had his last hurrah. This game is in Golden State, so I think that they probably get that whole like nostalgic stuff that's out of their system. It's going to be Clarkson. Ennis, I think, could have a good game. I think Nance, you got to give him a chance. Tark Black, a steal and a block there, I think is pretty easy to expect. Beyond that, I don't know. Am I missing anybody in LA? I don't think so.
No, it's a less interesting one than it could have been. New Orleans and Portland, we've actually hinted at these two teams. This is where there are some extremely juicy last day guys floating around. You already said Jake Layman, which was a nice grab, by the way. But the best play in Portland has to be Shabazz Napier, right? With all the guards out.
Yeah, absolutely. Shabazz Napier is the one, and then the aforementioned and Connaughton is also I think somebody that you want to take a look at. Those guys are all going to play. Evan Turner probably has a strong line. Al-Farouq Aminu, if he plays. Both of those guys. I was wondering about Mo Harkless because his Crab is out. That's for sure. Harkless was a DNP CD, and I think there's an injury there that we don't know about. If that was the case, then you're looking at Crab and probably at Aminu and Turner as must-start guys in this one. Myers Leonard is somebody if you need some low-end boards and some threes from a big man slot. Your boy Noah Vonleh is somebody.
Yes, Noah.
Got boards. I think boards are locked up for him, and then it's just what else can you get at that point? And good old Jake Layman.
Well, New Orleans, we already know what to expect. So this one's not a big question mark. Same guys are out that have been out for the last two in a row. And that means that Alexi Ajinça is going to get 14 and 7. That's the way it works.
It does seem like that didn't know if he had it in him because he's been quiet this year, but he's got it in him and he's going to get his chance. Solo Hill has not taken over much of the offense. I don't know that I would roll him out there. I mean, he's a candidate for a big line, but
this could be a better one, if only because, can they really get blown out by a Portland team not playing any of their... Yeah, they could. I mean, New Orleans pretty bad without their big guys in there, and we saw that their last couple of games. The fact that Drew Holiday didn't play the fourth quarter yesterday was a little bit disconcerting, but again, they were getting cream. So I don't know if there's something there as well.
I think he's just going to play lower minutes. I think that he wants to play. I think that they don't want to turn this thing over to the kids and have zero structure on the floor. Quinn Cook wasn't good in the last one. I'm looking at Jordan Crawford as a guy that can fill it up and give you big numbers. Tim Frazier is probably on the outside looking in terms of value. A lot of guards, and I think it'll be a nice up-tempo, lightly defended game out of both sides.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, yeah.
That's 28 teams, ladies and gentlemen. Brewski, quickly, I put this trivia question out there on Fantasy NBA Today yesterday, and I'll see if the guys in the chat room can get it. Can you, without thinking, name the two teams not playing tonight?
Oh, I got that one. It's Charlotte and the Suns.
Yep. That's the ones. We're not doing questions today. Apologies to those that have been posting them. We'll get to, because some of them are like off-season stuff and hot takes type things. This is all about your pickups for tonight. And for another reason, and I texted this to Bruce selfishly, I got to get my own stuff figured out tonight. This is selfish Dan this evening. I got questions as far as the eye can see, because I got like a 20 rebound lead over the guy that's trying to jump me there. I'm a couple threes behind somebody I'm looking to try to take over, and then blending when all these games start with who I can rotate in and out, because if I get big rebounds out of my 5 o'clock guys, I can rotate different guys into the late one. So I'm doing me today. Hashtag Dan does Dan. So take that. Brewski, to kind of wrap things up, because this is the last in-season show of the 2016-2017 NBA season. Fantasy NBA Today will not take the summer off. We continue through. We've got, I've been saying it for weeks now, we've got probably a month, maybe two, of just kind of looking back, season in review stuff. We got free agency period that'll come up shortly after that. You've got trades, you've got draft prep. There is a lot to talk about. There is plenty. We're going to talk to individual specialists from different teams. We'll get them on the show to kind of break down what they expect from the coming season, or possibly even the season gone by. So there's a lot left to do with Fantasy NBA Today, but this is the last show for this regular season. And Aaron, it has been a distinct pleasure. Thank you for all the time you spent with this show, and thanks for putting Hoop Ball together. The benevolent benefactor himself, the architect. A job well done.
Well, thank you, Dan. You're much too kind. And thank you for all of the work that you have done. And thank you to all of our contributors. Without everybody pulling in the same direction, we can't do this. And it's just very, very exciting on a day-to-day basis to watch it all go down. Thank you to the listeners. I mean, you guys make this very enjoyable for us. Our core group of listeners is great. And we just keep wanting to build this for you guys to make this as good as possible. To be an independent site and, really look at you guys as the key to our success. So you guys make this great, and all of your support is what propels us. All your little messages, your jokes, this, that, the green dots on Bruce's face. Ha, 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 ha. Look at that idiot. That's the stuff I look forward to when I wake up in the morning. And good luck in everything that you guys do today. I mean, we'll get after it. Once this season ends, just like all those degenerates in the NBA when they pick up a basketball and they go to the court the very next day. That's what we're doing here. And we're looking forward to it. So let us know if you have any questions. Give us feedback. Give us ratings. Dan loves those. We will see you guys soon.
Yeah, we will. We will see you very soon. There will likely be a day off later this week. You have been warned already. It is called a rest day. The pipes need a little bit of a break, but then we'll be hitting the ground running next week. It's time to review and make sure that we do things even better next year. That's what the offseason's all about. So we'll talk to you in a couple of days. Good luck on your last day. Let's all win some money if we're still playing. And if not, as Aaron said, thank you to everybody for investing a lot of your time into this show, equal about the same amount as us if you've been listening to all of them. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your week. Fantasy NBA Today. We'll be back in a couple of days. So long.